Talking about the New York Giants, their weekend, because this surprisingly got a lot of flack in what turned out to be a pretty fun weekend. I don't know about you, but I enjoy my football team winning. Obviously, there's some circumstances where I don't care as much about the win, or perhaps I'm a little like, okay, whatever about it. But Sunday, I had a great feeling. And I know there are Giants fans saying, why are they winning games now? Why are they tanking? Why aren't they tanking? I mean, you play like crap for the first 10 games of the year, and now you're winning these games. Come on, what are we doing here? And my retort to that is, okay, you're not a professional football player. I'm not a professional football player. These guys are playing for their jobs. Offensive talent, defensive talent are still on the roster. They're getting paid millions of dollars. We can't rip these players like, you're paying millions of dollars and you're not winning games. And then at the same time go, we're paying, lose on purpose. We can't do that. The Giants aren't 0-15. And then they've won these last 2 weeks. It's too early in the season. They're 4-8. It's not very good. You're hearing reports about Brian Daboll and Wink Martindale's relationship. I don't know if there's any truth to them. But what I do know is I've seen a better culture, better impact in the last 2 weeks with the New York Giants. And that's what I talked about last week when I talked about Tommy DeVito shocking the world. Tommy DeVito's improvement and his story of being that Jersey kid ultimately has kind of been a distraction to how bad of a year it's been. But it's kind of brought a little juice to the team and the organization. Yeah, we know Tommy DeVito is not the future at quarterback. But winning games matters. It's the biggest deodorant. And are the Giants going to go to the playoffs? No. However, with the Bears beating the Vikings last night and the Seahawks playing Dallas this week, a game that Dallas should win, I'm starting to get ideas because then at that point, they're only 2 back. But let's face it, not going to happen. Right? Joe Shane, and we're going to get to his press conference afterwards. I just want to talk about, even though it was an ugly smuck of a game versus the New England Patriots, who stink, with Mac Jones, who's possibly the worst quarterback in the league. You didn't think, I mean, Zach Wilson looks way better compared to Mac Jones, at least how Mac Jones looked on Sunday. The New York Giants couldn't really score. But you know what? Tommy DeVito was still airmailing it to Hyatt, right? Making some plays. That's something that you don't see with the Jets. You don't see Tim Boyle make those kind of risky throws or anything like that. It's kind of just short, flat, screen passes, all that. Tommy DeVito is kind of doing some stuff, and he's not turning the ball over, which is really nice. And yeah, is it a win to be really proud about? No, but I enjoy seeing my team win on football Sunday. That's what I enjoy. I'm not going to sit here and be depressed and be like, they should be losing. They should be losing. Winning develops a culture. And let's face it, I've seen the Giants do a lot of losing in the last decade. High draft picks, blah, blah, blah. It hasn't really worked out. I've seen that with the Jets. I've seen that recently with multiple quarterbacks. It's not about where you pick. It's about who you pick. And in a draft with so many players and a lot of quarterbacks that have been taken outside of the first round or late in the first round, all that, who's to say Joe Shane can't make those draft picks? Zach Wilson was the number 2 pick. Everybody loved him coming out of BYU. People don't think he's an NFL quarterback. So it's a conundrum for some people. I know that's the casual thing. Tank, it's easy. This isn't a video game. You can't just simulate loss, not deal with any of the emotional parts and cut players like it's nothing. You can't treat it like a video game. This has emotional ties to it. So when the Giants get a nice victory at home and Tommy DeVito's going like this, right? And his whole family's there, it's a fun time. And yeah, people say, does it hurt the Giants in the future? Winning is hurting. I understand they're not very good. I understand it. This team has too much all pro level talent for me to think like, all right, cut it, lose every single game. You know what you get at the end of the year? You get a Brian Daboll, you get players who don't respect Brian Daboll anymore because they've decided to lose. It's a losing culture. And I know that word's been used a lot. I know it's cringy for some people, but it's true in a lot of cases. It's very true. I'd rather win these games. Compete. You lose at the end, fine. But I'm not going to be upset over a win. Not going to happen. And briefly, I want to talk about Joe Schoen's press conference. He said nothing out of the ordinary to me. He kind of did the whole general manager thing where he's like, yeah, I'm not committed to Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones is our quarterback for the future. Not the quarterback for the future. He didn't say that. He's the quarterback next season. He's going to be out 8 to 10 months with this ACL injury. And Daniel Jones was coming into this year healthy, and he was awful for a lot of games. He also addressed that they're going to address the quarterback position. Whether the draft, free agency, he just kind of has to say that stuff. But the reality is, he also addressed Evan Neal, that he needs to play better. It was a press conference that actually made me feel pretty good. I know, listen, there's always going to be people that are upset with a press conference, this, and that. He didn't commit to Daniel Jones. If he committed to Daniel Jones completely, then you're feeling this. But he said, without giving excuses, like, I don't want to give excuses, but they did have a very difficult schedule to start the year. And sometimes when you lose that many games early on against teams that are better than you, you forget how to win games. And it was coming to that point. You got to that Bills game, you got to that Jets game. Those games they should have won. And they just forgot how to win games. I mean, if you look back at those, you could be looking at this today. Giants could be 6-6 and in the playoff hunt if they just close those two games out. And that tells me the talent on the roster isn't necessarily awful, or that you can't make a playoff team, or that this is a 2-win team. There's too much talent defensively. There's too much good coaching on this staff. And when I see that, I saw Joe Schoen is like, listen, we're going to be competitive. I'm proud of the guys. I think there's a lot to be proud about that. And I think it's just easy to kind of just be a loser and just be like, lose all the rest of the games, get the really talented guy. And what? When he comes into a toxic environment of losing. I mean, I feel like in football, especially with quarterbacks, situation is everything for a lot of these guys. You're going to bring that new guy into crap and losing? I don't like that. Now, that could still end up being the case. But you got to give it, excuse me, you got to give it everything you got. I'm not for losing on purpose. Unless it's game 16, 17, season's completely over, you're done. That's a different story. It's way too early on in the year to be thinking about any of that. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's dumb. Stupid. This isn't a video game. That's really all I have to say about the Giants.